E3 was just canceled again. And if I'm being honest, I kind of saw this coming. Leading up to the summer months, we found out that not only Nintendo but also Sony and Microsoft were just not going to be present at E3. And really, E3 got a whole lot of support from different companies making their presence there. Now, while there may be many companies that have played a factor in E3, the big ones, of course, are you got your Xbox, you got your Sony, Square Enix. I believe a couple times even Twitch and YouTube had boosts there, right? But really, the model that Nintendo had been using in its more modern scale, I think, really killed E3. And once the pandemic happened, it was pretty much it. Like, E3, the format of E3 is to basically have it be a showcase of game trailers and things like that, right? But I think the stark difference to make between E3 and PAX is E3 is far more presentation related, right? E3 is where there are presentations. There might be demos at E3, but usually E3 is when you have presentations, whereas PAX is mainly where you have demos, right? So PAX just automatically has a lot, I think, just a wider potential, because it's not so revolved around presentations. Like, you don't see a new trailer at PAX. You may see a couple of them, but PAX really, if you don't know what PAX is I think the other biggest gaming convention. And so really PAX is able to go on so long as there are game developers that have games that people want to demo. And I think E3, because it focused so heavy on the presentation, Nintendo, even before the pandemic, went to a more presentation heavy model, right? And so this started, I believe the first Nintendo Direct happened a long time ago. I believe the Wii was when we saw the first Nintendo Direct, if I remember that right. But anyway, back in the the Nintendo Directs really started to get ground, right? When you think of Nintendo's fan base, I think Nintendo just has the largest fan base of games, period. You can argue about Xbox and PlayStation, but literally Nintendo just has the biggest fan base. Sony presentations and Xbox presentations don't get nearly as many views or as hype as Nintendo presentations do. But Nintendo, being unique in the fact that they decided to create the Nintendo Direct, and it being so successful, you've seen other companies try to have their own directs. Like, we started to see, especially when the PlayStation 5, Sony has started to really try to do their own sort of directs. Microsoft, with Xbox, have been trying to do the same thing as well. But really, just seeing Nintendo being able to do these presentations whenever they felt like it, with or without E3, Nintendo always has a presentation in the summer anyway. So even in the years that E3 is canceled, Nintendo is still able to put out a Nintendo Direct in June. Like, Nintendo does not need E3. It was a partnership, right? That Nintendo would drop a Direct during E3, but really when E3 started to struggle because of the pandemic, Nintendo just really did not need E3 at all. And if anything, other companies started to follow Nintendo in the Direct format, in the presentation format, and then really, because the presentations, the E3 presentations, the E3 Nintendo Direct was single-handedly, I think, the biggest factor for E3. The fact that E3 has not had that for the past few years is really what is killing E3, because people think E3 Nintendo Direct. Now it's just June Nintendo Direct, because Nintendo doesn't need E3, but E3 needs Nintendo. I mean, you could make an argument if E3 could go on with just Xbox and Sony, but really, Nintendo was the biggest push for E3 and the E3 presentations. It's always about the E3 Direct. People always talk about who won E3, and it always goes to Nintendo, but that's just because Nintendo's Direct at E3 just has so much pull. It has so much attention, and the fact that Nintendo can just do whatever they want, and they don't have to worry about an E3 presentation, and really if they want demos of their games, they can literally either A, make them available on the eShop, or B, just have them at places like PAX, which Nintendo just did. I believe this was the first Nintendo appearance at this most recent PAX. I think it was PAX East. Nintendo just had their first appearance there in a minute. But regardless, I just wanted to talk to y'all and say that really Nintendo backing out of E3 and Nintendo's just model is the main reason why E3 is dead. Because really the way virtual presentations have upticked since the pandemic, it didn't like, it was kind of, E3 I think was already kind of like, I don't want to say struggling before the pandemic, but really it was just only a matter of time before other companies just started following Nintendo, and it was only a matter of time before companies are like, well, I don't necessarily need E3 to make a presentation. Now I just think June is just going to become Gamer News Month thanks to E3. I'm thankful for E3 because E3 is going, June is essentially going to be the Gamer News Month, because that's when I think all the companies are going to start putting out their presentations. I think that credit to that can go to E3, but really a lot of this is Nintendo, and a lot of companies are following Nintendo. People can say about, oh, Nintendo's consoles aren't powerful enough, but literally their decisions impact the market all the time. Like you see, the PSP was a direct competitor to Nintendo's portable consoles. The Xbox Connect was a direct competition against the Wii. Like a lot of companies are trying to copy Nintendo, and just because Nintendo has the biggest, largest, most impactful and loyal fan base, to where other companies want to follow Nintendo's model. So I really just think because of that and other things is just the main reason why we E3 is pretty much dead. Because this is, I believe, the second or third year in a row where E3 has been canceled. So I really just think E3 is not happening anymore. It's dead. I think E3 is just done, and really that happens because of Nintendo. But that doesn't mean it's bad on Nintendo's part. I mean, it's smart. I just think E3 just aged badly. The model of E3 is just, it's not the model of how E3 goes, especially how we get a more and more digital world, a lot more accessible. It's a lot easier to access these presentations, and you don't need a centralized event for it. So really, it was just a matter of time before E3 started to fizzle, because as technology grows, as platforms and media gets more accessible, as companies put out more presentations, having a central spot to put out all those presentations really was just going to fade away, especially when companies can just do it themselves. Because the difference is E3 could give companies that may have been struggling a base, but all the companies are fine. Like, companies don't need a central event anymore. People don't need E3, but E3 needs the companies. You see, E3 was able to thrive when companies needed E3, but companies really don't need E3 anymore. And I think in the recent years before the pandemic, companies really realized that. And so when the pandemic just happened, it was just the perfect storm that happened to just really kill E3. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know this is a different video. I do want to start doing more videos just talking about what I feel like. These are going to be called BasedFlame, where I give my absolutely based and factual opinions. No, I'm kidding. Well, no, that's the name of the series, BasedFlame. But my opinions may not be factual. I mean, you have every right to disagree. But let me know your thoughts on this in the description below, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.